I moved out to this place on the western flank of the Shenandoah Valley, on the edge, under the lip of a ridge in the midst of a forest, over 30 years ago. So I have a lot of years of heating my place with the important assistance of wood and of wielding an axe to split little logs of oak that are sometimes rather difficult to split, sometimes not so difficult. One of the things I've had to learn is how to read the grain in the wood. If there are twists and turns, it's not going to split easily along that axis. Sometimes there's a piece that nothing I'm going to be able to do manually is going to split the wood, and I'm going to have to either not burn it or burn it the whole thing. And when I think about how we are in our politics right now with Trump about to become the Republican nominee, presumably, I realize that there's a Trump cult that's like one of those pieces of oak that because of branches or twists in the original way that the wood grew, it's not going to get split. They're going to be with Trump because there's no dividing them from Trump. That whatever it is that adheres is going to be more powerful than anything that any politician in a campaign might say to try to split them off from Trump. But there are a lot of people who might vote for Trump that if the axe were wielded expertly, might be able to separate the voters' piece from the Trump piece by a swift reframing of the issue, a kind of political rhetoric that's like a good sharpened axe. And I thought of a couple of ways this might work. No guarantees, but a couple of ways in which the issue might be recast. One of them is political violence, which Trump is clearly fostering. The idea of political violence is anathema to many Americans, particularly Americans who have any real respect for the agreement we have as a people about how we're going to resolve our differences through the rule of law and like that. But I think that Americans are so in love with violence, and we have so many heroes in our movies that are essentially vigilantes who take the law into their own hands. I'm not just going back to Death Wish and Charles Bronson, but we've got these equalizer things that Denzel Washington takes it upon himself to do things he's really completely unauthorized to do. And they're very violent. I have to confess that I can get into those kinds of things too. And I'm in the process of watching Shane, which fortunately, in terms of the American ethic, the violence that he's going to unleash on the bad guys by the end of the film is there's no alternative. There's no marshal. We've heard earlier in the movie, there's not a marshal within 100 miles. Okay. We've been through those Westerns a million times. But so I don't know that talking about political violence is going to be able to split voters that, away from Trump. But there might be a way of reconfiguring the thing and to bring the axe in at a different angle and try to make a separation on the basis that instead of focusing on political violence, recast the issue as a matter of cheating. You know, we don't like cheaters in America. Well, maybe we do, but some people who might not blanch at political violence might feel like there's something really unsavory about a cheater. When I was a kid, I I wouldn't play. If anybody turned out to be a cheater, I'd say, well, to hell with you. I'm not going to play. We got rules in this game. We're here to play this game according to the rules. And somebody who's a cheater, well, they're beyond the pale. If the runner was clearly out and the other team said, oh, he was safe, that's essentially what Trump did with the 2020 election. That stinks. And so the American sense of fair play might come into handy because it is cheating. We have agreed that about the way we're going to resolve our conflicts. Political violence is not playing the game according to the rules. It is cheating. And maybe there's something to be gained for some politicians on the side that wants to keep Trump away from the White House in order to preserve the American democracy and the rule of law, should emphasize that we're dealing here with a cheater. Another place where I can see that we might recast the issue in a way that brings the axe in at a different point to try to shave the two pieces apart along a different set of grain is that what this election is about is, are we going to let Putin and his allies in America reverse the American victory in the Cold War? I mean, this was what American patriotism was all about for 40 years, that we, the leaders of the free world, are going up against this totalitarian tyranny, and we won. We won back in the late 80s and very early 90s. It turned out that the side of the free societies was going to prevail over the tyrannies that had gone up against us in a very dangerous arms race, Cold War, global chessboard to see who was going to dominate the planet, or whether we were going to blow the planet up, actually. We won. We, the free societies, won. And as the Cold War ended, free societies celebrated that victory, largely in those terms. But there's a reversal that's possible here. Putin helped get Trump into the presidency, and he's going to be doing what he can. He's already doing what he can to try to get the United States, the one-time leader of the free world and present leader of the free world in some meaningful ways, like around Ukraine, except that the Trump wing of the Republican Party is trying to save Putin's bacon by blocking the money to Ukraine to deliver the greatest bargain that the United States and the NATO have ever gotten in their struggle against Russian tyranny. They're trying to get the representative of tyranny in America, who's increasingly putting it out that he's going to be the kind of thing that the kind of regime that America has always stood against, and that we stood against in the Cold War, in addition to all the other national interests and greed and less savory things. But it was still true that we were the free society going up against a society which at the beginning of the Cold War was underneath the thumb of a human monster in Joseph Stalin. And Putin is trying to undo the results of the Cold War. He's trying to restore Russia to its place where it can challenge the United States for hegemony in the world. So maybe there are Americans who aren't particularly alarmed at the idea of Trump being president again. But if it can be recast as reversing the great American victory in the Cold War, they might get split off from Trump. Well, I'm working on a piece about this issue of reversing the American victory in the Cold War, and I'll probably be back to talk about it in greater depth. But for the moment, let me just say, these are some of the ways that politics can work. The concept of a wedge issue. I'm not originating. It's a well-established concept. How do you divide people from a political force that they might support for some reasons, but they might oppose for other reasons? And surely the Dobbs decision has provided a major wedge issue for the anti-Putin side, the anti-Republican side, to use, because we know from the polls that something like 2/3 of the American people are against what the Republicans are doing on the issue of abortion. That is probably the major wedge issue for the 2024 election. Maybe there's some other ones, like political violence is a form of cheating. We Americans believe in fair play, and we don't like cheaters. The United States has been the leader of the free world, and we had an important historic victory in the Cold War, and we don't want the election of Donald Trump to reverse that great victory and hand Putin, the new Russian tyrant, the victory that the old Soviet Union tyranny wasn't able to win. Some thoughts. Thanks.